came along and said to A and B, Amr lahem, we'll say, watch this. But if C and D come along and say to A and B, how can you testify that Reuven killed Shimon on Sunday at 2:00? You, A and B, were with us, C and D, in another place on Sunday at 2:00. Then Hare Elu Zolman. So we'll say, so again, what the Mishnah is, and it says, for Edom to become Edom Zolman, it's the Edom themselves who have to be disqualified. That goes right there. Hare Elu Zolman, al PM. And therefore, ultimately, again, will be killed as a result of the testimony of C and D. So we'll say, listen to this. If others came along, so we'll say, here's this situation. Look at Rashi for just a moment. I love Kelis. So we'll say, just as I have this case plays out. A and B show up, witnesses A and B show up and testify that whatever, you can fill in the blank, whatever it is. Reuven killed Shimon, Reuven borrowed money from Shimon, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Let's keep it easy. Reuven, easy for us. Reuven killed Shimon. So what happens? A and B show up and say Reuven killed Shimon, and then what happens? They'll say, so now C and D come along and disqualify A and B. Make them into Edom Zolman. Okay. And we'll say, now what happens? So let's follow this out. Then a third set of witnesses come along. And the third set of witnesses say the same thing that A and B said. And then what happens? C and D disqualifies them. Set of witnesses come along and say the same thing that A and B said, and C and D disqualify them. So what's happening over here is what we call the mazimin. The mazimin. Who are the mazimin? It's not like a men's choir, right? Who are the mazimin? So I'll say the mazimim are the witnesses who are disqualifying the other way. You have one set of witnesses who are disqualifying one group after the next, after the next, after the next. Rashi says over here, Bo achirim shidu ala kedes rishon ve'zimu elu hashnayim shezimu sarishon ve'zimu gamas achorim. So I'll say, so what's happening? Afilu meya. Now I'll say, so can you imagine this scene? So group after group after group is coming, qualified by the same mazimin, which in our mashal is who? Is C and D, right? C and D are disqualifying group after group after group. What's the halacha? Yargo. So we'll say, listen, it's fine. Meaning, as long as C and D have not been disqualified, we believe them to disqualify every subsequent group. The Yehuda Omer is status hizu. Yehuda says, no. There's some type of collaboration happening over here. Meaning, status literally means what's the word? Not a collaboration, but conspiracy. Thank you. A conspiracy, right? There's something happening over here. Zelo normali. This is not normal that one group could keep on disqualifying group after group after group, and therefore again, now what we do with them, we'll see. Look at Rashi Statisi. Hakas hazos kas shal idos sara b'satcha. So we'll say something's happening over here. There's some kind of witness tampering or something's occurring because it doesn't make sense that one group of witnesses could disqualify group after group after group. So the Gemara says, and therefore the only group will end up killing in this case, so we'll say is who? Is A and B. Now, Nebuch, A and B, we'll see this. A and B are dead because, of course, we only knew, or we only are choshesh. We're only concerned that this mazimim group, are in a status group, are a conspiracy group, only after they keep disqualifying group after group after group. When they disqualified A and B, it looked totally normal to us. Says the Gemara, we'll say it's analysis. Where do we know this from? So says the Gemara. What the Gemara is focusing on right now is the concept that Edom only become Edom Zomim if the Edom themselves are disqualified. Meaning, if there's something about their testimony that is disqualified, they might become, their Eidos might be thrown out of Beis Din, but they don't become Edom Zomim. Remember again the Mishnah's case, if A and B show up and they say Reuven killed Shimon at 2:00 on Sunday, and then C and D show up and they say, A and B, you could not have witnessed that because Shimon, the victim, was with us on Sunday at 2:00. So we'll say we might go ahead and throw out the Eidos, but they don't become Edom Zomim. The only way they become Edom Zomim is how? Is if C and D show up and say what? That on Sunday at 2:00, you, A and B, were with us, so you cannot have possibly seen that which you have attested to seeing. So we'll say, where do we know this? We'll say second wide line, Hey Amad Aleph. Vihine 8 sheker. Hide. So we'll say, listen to this. So the pasuk says over here, Vihine 8 sheker, ha'id sheker ana ba'achid. So ad sheker gufa shal edus. So we'll say the Gemara Darshan is over here, that ultimately, again, the only time that a person becomes an eid sheker, or for our purposes an eid zomim, is actually to sheker gufa shal edus. The essence of the testimony has to be disqualified. So we'll say, what's the essence of the testimony? The essence of the testimony is not that Reuven killed Shimon. What's the essence of the testimony? That we saw Reuven kill Shimon. So therefore, again, one only becomes Edim Zomin if the Gufa Shal Eidos, the fact that we saw it, becomes a disqualified fact, or is disqualified as non-fact, I should say. Rabbi Shmuel says that ultimately the pasuk over is Ki Yacham Eid Chamas B'Ish Lanos Bos Sarah. If an aid gets up, a witness gets up to go ahead and testify falsely, Ad Shetisra Gufa Shal Eidos. It's the same drasha, I'll say, just simply a separate pasuk. Ad Shetisra Gufa Shal Eidos, meaning until ultimately again the guf of the eidos is proven to be incorrect. Amar Rava, supposed to listen to this. I'm just going to give a couple of examples now. Amar Rava, these are fascinating cases. Bo Shnai V'Amru, B'Mizrach Bira. Supposed to listen to this case. Rabbi says the following: Shnayim, A and B, show up in Beis. What do they say? On the east side of the tower, Reuven killed Shimon. Okay. So these show up and they say, how can you testify that you saw Reuven kill Shimon on the west side, on the east side of the tower? You were with us on the west side. So I'll say, so how do we reconcile these two disparate testimonies? So Chazinon, Ike the kind of marav bira mechzi lechazul marav bira ain't elozomis. We'll say we do a field trip, but what do? We go to the west side of the tower, and if you could see the east side from the west side, we'll say we'll still take the edus into account. The imlav hare elozomin, and I will say if we're standing on the west side and you can't see the east side, then what? Then it's clear that what I will say that A and B are lying. To which the Gemara says, okay, pshita, like what's the chiddush in that? Ma'od will say, what would I have thought? Lechosh lenuhura baria. So I say, I might have thought that maybe I should be choshesh, that maybe the witnesses have incredible eyesight. So that maybe, when we go to the west side of the tower and we're looking there, so okay, I can't see it, my eyesight's okay, but it's not great. Maybe mamish the witnesses have exceptional eyesight. That's why they're able to see something that regular people or stam eyesight cannot pick up. That when we assess the situation, we assess it through the lens of a normative situation. Says in our next case, we'll say these are great cases. Listen to this. We'll say A and B show up and they say in the city of Surah on Sunday morning, Reuven killed Shimon. And what happens? But listen, what happens? C and D show up. And they say to A and B, how can you testify about that? Because Sunday evening, you were with us in Narda. So I'll say, so what do we do now? A and B are testifying to a murder they saw in Surah in the morning. C and D are saying in the afternoon, evening, you were with us in Narda. So I'll say, so how do we assess, are the Eden Zomin or not? Oh, simple. Chazinon, hello, Habuzomin. So what do we do? Again, another field trip. We see, can you make the trip from Surah to Narda, assuming you saw something in the morning? Can you make it to Narda by the afternoon, evening? Or so if you can, then they're not Zomerman. And if you can't, then what? Havazomin. They are Zomins. Which Gemara says, Pshita. I don't say what's the novelty? This is just fact checking. So what's the novelty in this case? Listen to this. Ma'udatema, Lechosh Lagamla Parcha. I will say, maybe I should be choshesh that I have an 8-cylinder camel. Like it goes from 0 to 20 in 4.5 hours. Maybe I should be choshesh that at the end of the day I have a very fast, literally a flying camel. So that again, you guys are assessing it by a regular camel. I have a turbocharged camel, so I was able to get there quicker. Now, by the way, these gemaras are going to be very important because they're going to inform discussion that we're going to have later on. That when we assess mitzias, we assess realities based on normative circumstances, not on outliers, not on exceptions. There can always be exceptions, but when trying to glean normative assessments, we use we'll call a basic baseline, a basic standard. So say, here we go. Rabbi says A and B are doing a lot this morning. So A and B come along and they say, on Sunday, we saw Reuven kill Shimon. Okay. So we'll say what happens. So now C and D show up and they say, A and B, how can you testify that you saw Reuven kill Shimon on Sunday? You were with us on Sunday. Now, boss, say, watch this. Ella, but now here it goes. So C and D just said number one. A and B, how can you testify that you saw Reuven kill Shimon on Sunday? You were with us on Sunday. Ella saw Harak Ploni es Sanefesh. But we will tell you on Monday, Reuven did kill Shimon. So C and D are coming along and saying A and B, which you are testifying that you saw on Sunday, because you're with us on Sunday, but we will tell you that Reuven did in fact kill Shimon on Monday. So I'll say, interestingly enough, in this case, C and D are not disputing the facts, they're disputing the timeline, and they're disputing the fact that A and B could claim they saw it. So what do I do in this case? So we'll say furthermore, we'll say, get ready for this. Let's say, let's make it even more interesting. Let's say when C and D show up, they say A and B, you're liars. You could not have seen Reuven kill Shimon on Sunday because you're with us on Sunday. Oh, and by the way, Reuven killed Shimon on Erev Shabbos. So we'll say in this case over here, what's happening? By the time, so to speak, that Reuven and Shimon by the time that A and B are testifying that Reuven killed Shimon, in fact, chronologically, Reuven was already dead. Shimon was already dead. So what do we do? So now, what do we do with witnesses? What do we do with A and B in this case? To which the Gemara says in Haragin, the both said we killed them as Eidim Zolman. Why? Even at the Kamisadi, Gavra Lav Bar Kitalu. Because what's at the end of the day, when they showed up to Beis Din to give testimony about Reuven was not a convicted killer, right? The fact that C and D come along and move the timeline doesn't make a difference. The A and B were trying to kill someone who was not a convicted killer. So because they tried to murder someone or have someone executed, and they turned out that they were lying about their testimony, therefore they are executed as reciprocal punishment. My kamasha. So we'll say, what's the chiddush in this? So Tanina, we learn this. Nim lefichach nim says achas ben zomemes. So we'll say, so we learned this already. That's what if it turns out that one of them was a zomen, so that one and the defendant are killed. Bashnia Petura. So the Gemara says, Seifa, Masha Enkin the Gemara Dinit Strichale. Oh, well, so I'll tell you, the Gemara says, I'll tell you why we need it. We need it ultimately again for the Chiddush that comes down in the Seifa. We'll say, what's the Chiddush in the Seifa? Bo Shnayim V'amru Bechad B'Shabs and Nigmar Dino Shaploni. We'll say, watch this. You see what just changed now? What just changed? What just changed is testimony from testimony about an act to testimony about a conviction. So I'll say, well, listen to this case. A and B show up in Beis Din. A and B show up and they say that on Sunday, Reuven was convicted of killing Shimon. I'll say in this case, what they're testifying to is, let's say we were sitting in the courtroom when the Beis Din convicted Reuven of killing Shimon, and Reuven escaped from the Beis Din before they were able to execute him for his crime. So I'll say here, A and B are coming to Beis Din to testify that Reuven is a convicted killer. So watch this. So Reuven and Shimon, A and B show up and they say, on Sunday, Reuven was convicted by Beis Din for execution. And now C and D show up and say, A and B, you guys are lying because you were with us on Sunday. But we will tell you, but I will tell you that, by the way, you're right, Reuven was convicted and was sentenced to die. And in fact, his sentencing was when? On Friday, Erev Shabbos. I will say even better. Let's say again, A and B show up and they say, we saw Reuven was convicted to die on Sunday. C and D show up and say, A and B, you're lying. You were with us on Sunday, but Reuven was convicted by a court on Monday. So the Gemara says, Ein elu ne'eragin. I will say in all of these cases, A and B will not be executed. Why not? We'll say because, listen to this, it turns out that the man whom they were testifying about already considered a dead man. I will say the halachas, we'll see this, by the way, in a more dramatic fashion. The Gemara, once someone's been sentenced to death in a halachic fashion, it's as if they are already dead. So therefore, we'll say, as it turns out, when A and B show up, even if for argument's sake it turns out that they were lying, they could not have seen what they testified to because they are with C and D on Sunday. But C and D come along and say that what? Either Reuven was convicted on Friday, which means that by the time they were testifying, Reuven was already convicted, or that it happened on Monday. They both say even if it happened on Monday, A and B are still going ahead and testifying about a dead man because we're assuming when are A and B coming to Beis Din? on Tuesday, on Tuesday, meaning sometime after the conviction occurred, meaning they're testifying about an event that they saw earlier, but ultimately, again, they're coming to Beis Din Tuesday or later. So the point over here is that their testimony is about a dead man. So and now again, it turns out their false testimony is about a dead man, but the idea is you're not executed for false testimony of somebody who's already considered to be dead.
In these cases, that they just don't know what day it was, they got confused about.
So we'll discuss that. Remember again, the answer is we saw in Sanhedrin that some amount of fact ambiguity is acceptable, but as we're going to see, not day to day. We could confuse morning with afternoon, maybe even afternoon with evening, but once you're on different days already, you're out. Says the Gemara. And I will say this is true ultimately again for payments of penalty payments. So the will say, now the Gemara, up until now, the Gemara was illustrating these principles, in the realm of capital punishment. Now we're going to illustrate these principles in the realm of knas, the realm of penalty payments as well. So let's listen to this. So C and D show up and they say on Sunday, Reuven stole, slaughtered, and sold an animal. I will say, what's the halacha if you stole, slaughter, and sell? Right, the 4 and 5 time penalty payment, 4 or 5, depending on what type of animal you have stolen, slaughtered, and sold. So we'll say what happens. C and D show up and C and D say, A and B, you guys are lying. You were with us on Sunday. You're with us on Sunday. There's no way you could have seen Reuven do this. Ella, but we'll say, but C and D then go ahead and say what? But in fact, Reuven did steal, slaughter, and sell. SSS, steal, slaughter, and sell on Monday. So meaning Sunday, but he did do it on Monday. We'll say, what's that halacha? Mishalmin, we still make A and B pay. A and B have to pay the Arba v'chamisha. Why? Because we'll say at the time that they were testifying, Reuven was not yet a convicted thief. So the Gemara says, we'll say case number 2 is what? A and B show up and they say on Sunday, Reuven stole, slaughtered, sold, and was convicted by a Beis Din. He escaped from Beis Din before they could go ahead and extract the repayment from him. And now we're showing up in Beis Din to testify that he's a convicted thief. C and D show up and they say, A and B, you're lying. You're with us on Sunday. You couldn't have witnessed this. However, but Reuven did steal, slaughter, and sell and get convicted on Friday and Erev Shabbos. I will say, even if C and D said he stole, slaughtered, and sold, and was convicted on Monday, and remember, all this is happening on Tuesday, so in this case, A and B will not be chayiv to pay al tzazama. Why not? We'll say, same principle. So we'll say, the bottom line principle is the following. First of all, we'll say, so what do we walk away with? Number one, we walk away with, that Eidim only becomes Zomin when you disqualify Gufa Sha'idus. What's Gufa Sha'idus? Gufa Sha'idus is not just about the event that occurred. Gufa Sha'idus is what? We saw the event occur. Eidim only become Eidim Zomin, not when you discount the fact, when you discount their ability or when you disprove their ability to have seen that event. That's what makes Eidim Zomin. Number 2, that the matter that the Eidim Zomin are testifying about, in fact, did occur. But again, they're just lying about having seen it or the date on which it occurred. They could still become Eidim Zomin because they're still trying to be mechayiv someone something that he was not chayiv before. However, if they are already testifying about someone who has been convicted, be it in a capital case or a financial case, even though now it turns out that that they're lying, they're not made into Eidim Zomin. Why? Because the Maisa, again, their testimony has no impact. They're going ahead and they're testifying about somebody who's already dead, about somebody who's already chayiv money, and therefore they're not made into Eidim Zomin. I will say, remember again, even though they're not Eidim Zomin, they're still what? They're still liars. Meaning, let's be clear about this. They're lying. So what do we do with lying Eidim? So also remember again, so this goes back to the machlok we saw in yesterday's daf. Do you go ahead and give malchus for a lav she'in bo ma'isa? So again, if you're that you give malchus for a lav she'in bo ma'isa, those sana berachad shak, you still give them malchus. Well, see, here's the good news. I mean, the idea over here is that Beis Din always has the ability to give malchus. Right? Beis Din always has the ability to give what we call malchus mardos. Malchus is supposed to say Beis Din doesn't like the way you are behaving. Beis Din has the right to administer lashes, or for that matter, impose any other kind of penalty upon you. So the Maisa, I would have to imagine that in historical context, when this occurred, these people didn't just walk out of Beis Din, my bad. There must have been some type of punitive measure, because again, false testimony, obviously, false testimony is something that arose at the very fabric of society. All right, anyway, this is Rabbi Yehuda Omer, status issue. So let's remember again, next case mission was the following. A and B show up and testify that Reuven killed Shimon, or whatever, Reuven knows Shimon. It doesn't matter what the case is. C and D come along and what? Disqualify A and B. They will say, then what happens? Next set of witnesses, I'm not going to keep using letters, but we'll call third set of witnesses come, and C and D disqualify them. Fourth set of witnesses come, C and D disqualifies them. Group after group after group is disqualified by the same mazimim, by the same C and D. So Tanakama said, no, that's C and D are popular. They know a lot of people. Apparently, they had a big gathering on Sunday. Everybody was with them. So we believe them. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's statusi. There's some type of collusion. There's something going on over here, and therefore they're disqualified. Rabbi Yehuda is statusizu. What's that on base? I don't understand. If we are concerned, not collaboration, conspiracy. If we're concerned about a conspiracy and there's something going on, so we'll say, again, this is like, what would C and D? What would C and D be conspiring? What would be the collaboration? I will say, the collaboration is, they got paid off by Reuven's family to go ahead and make sure that Reuven doesn't go to jail or whatever. So they're disqualifying every single group of witnesses. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. If there is status, if we're concerned about collusion or collaboration or conspiracy, so we should even spare the first set, right, A and B. To which the Gemara says, well, here's the problem. The problem is also we only discover that it's in a status when they start disqualifying group after group after group. When they disqualified A and B, to us it just looked like a regular case of hazama, ma'ida hava, kind of like can't cry over spilled milk, So I mean, we executed A and B. Obviously, it turns out that it might have been incorrect. We'll say this, by the way. But I will say this is one of the major pieces of Musar that we'll take from this Gemara. We'll see incredible sugis later on of the concept of ki mishpat le'elokimu, that ultimately true judgment is reserved for HaKadosh Baruch Hu for one simple reason. Only the Ribono Shel Olam knows all the facts. Whenever man judges, there's an inherent margin of error. Because by definition, man ein l'dayan ladun ela ma she'einav ros. The dayan, the judge, can only see what his eyes are able to take in. But anything behind the scenes, anything beneath the surface, he can't see, which Rabbi said is an incredible yisod in judgment, but not just judgment in a courthouse. It's an incredible yisod in our personal judgments as well. The Maharal brings down this idea, ein l'dayan ladun ela ma she'einav ros. The judge can only judge what his eyes see. It's not just the din in someone who sits on the bench. It's just someone who lives in this world. That sometimes we rush to judgment about people, about circumstances, by seeing a snapshot of a person, by seeing a snapshot of a situation. And just know you're only seeing one frame. You're only seeing one little bit. So the Gemara says, Nebuch, we executed two people. Because at the end of the day, it looked right. Meaning there was no reason to assume that there was in the status. Now, a day later, 2 days later, or however much longer later, now we see we have a problem. Says is actually interesting. Rava says what we do is we don't immediately execute A and B, but rather we wait a little bit to see what's going to happen. So if there are other groups of witnesses who come and give testimony and they're disqualified by C and D, then we realize something's happening and we execute no one. However, again, if no one else comes, then we'll go ahead and we'll execute A and B. To which the Gemara says, but 1 second, ha bilvad kamar. I will say that's not what the Mishnah said. The Mishnah said that we ended up executing the first group only. Also, which indicates to us what? That the first group was in fact executed. Kasha. And he says in the Gemara that's a difficulty. I'm sorry.
C and D. You don't do anything.
C and D are the mazimin. They are the ones disqualifying everyone else. Then you want to see if it turns out that they're a status. So remember, so what do we do with them? So again, they're liars. What do you do with liars? You can't kill them.
Because A and B to be.
So that's, remember, even if they caused A and B to die, remember they caused A and B to die out their D-board, right? The answer is we're going to discuss what we do with them. We're not finished with C and D. Bigger discussion, which is what is the vetting process for mazimin? What's like when you read these gemaras, it sounds like A and B show up and they say Reuven killed Shimon, and Sidi show up and say, no, you guys were with us on Sunday, sorry. And so we kill A and B. I'll say, obviously, in Sanhedrin, we saw the vetting process for witnesses in general. What we haven't discussed is the vetting process for Mazimim. So we're going to see all of this. Says the Gemara, so what happened? The Asai Sahadi Vishtak. So let's listen to this. There was a woman who went ahead and she brought witnesses to testify on her behalf regarding a particular claim. And what happens? They found out to be liars. I see Sadi Vishtakar. She brought a second set of witnesses to testify on her behalf, and they were found to be liars. Azla I see Sadi Achron. Need the lower shtaker, third time's a charm. Third set of witnesses, and Baruch Hashem, they were not found to be liars. So set A was found to be liars. Set B found to be liars. Set 3 found not to be liars. So what happens? So we'll say, what do we do? Amr Reish Lakish, Huchsekazura. We'll say, Reish Lakish says, accept. We do not accept this testimony. Why? Because this woman is disqualified. She has eroded her credibility. After bringing 2 sets of lying witnesses, even though not the third happened to get their story right, we don't believe anything they have to say. Amr Rabbi Lazar, we'll say it's actually very profound. I don't understand. If she is, in our eyes, deemed to be a liar, is Gans Klal Yisrael a liar? So we'll say that the idea is just because now obviously there's something shady going on with her. But Lamaisa, the last set of witnesses who walk in are 2 upstanding Jews. Why would we assume that Lamaisa, the third group that walks in, why would we assume that they're anything less than upstanding? So Lamaisa, again, we should believe them. Zinin Havayasi Kamid Rabbi Yochanan. Supposed to listen to this. So one time they were sitting before Rabbi Yochanan. Also, Kihai Maisa, Lekana. So we'll say this type of case came up as they were sitting in front of Rabbi Yochanan. And what happens? Amr Reish Lakish, Huchsekazu. Reish Lakish said that this woman has a chazuk of being a liar, and therefore we will not accept the testimony. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, Im Huchsekuzu, Kol Yisame Huchseku. So Rabbi Yochanan said, I don't understand. Even if she's considered to be a liar, we'll say, again, you can't make the witnesses guilty by association. We'll say, just because these witnesses are coming to testify on her behalf, they may be upstanding, legitimate, truth-speaking Jews. To which the Gemara said, I will say, now watch this. Now Rabbi Yochanan just said something that Rabbi Lazar espoused before. Rabbi Yochanan was older than Rabbi Lazar. So watch this. So Hadar Chaziyek the Rabbi Lazar. So we'll say, listen to this. So what happens? So we'll say, so what happens? So Rabbi looked at Rabbi Lazar Bishus with a negative look. Amrlei Shamis Mili Mibar Nafcha below Amras Li Mishmei. So we'll say Rabbi was upset. Why? Because Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi say, had said something over in the name of Rabbi Yochanan without proper attribution. Because remember, again, before when the sugi started, we had a statement for Reish Lakish that we look at the third set as liars, and Rabbi Lazar said no, just because the first 2 are liars doesn't mean the third is a liar. So we'll say apparently that wasn't Rabbi Lazar's shita, that was the shita that he got from Rabbi Yochanan. So now his Rebbe is upset with him. Why? Because he said it over without proper attribution. Literally, mi bar nafcha below amrit li nishmei. You heard it from Bar Nafcha. We'll say Bar Nafcha is the son of the blacksmith. Who was the son of the blacksmith? That was Rabbi Yochanan. We'll say Rabbi Yochanan's father was a blacksmith. Which we'll say, incredible thing. You don't have to grow up in the home of a gadol to make yourself into a gadol. And by the way, great people who are honest, who are hardworking, who have an incredible, beautiful life ethic, could raise children who are gedolim shavigdolim. So it's an important yesod. It says the Gemara. So he's upset. Why, Rabbi Lazar? Why are you taking all of the credit over here? And why did you not attribute it to Rabbi Yochanan? So Lema, Reish Lakish Tamar Rabbi Yehuda, for Rabbi Yochanan Damar Rabbanan. So let's say that Reish Lakish holds like Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yochanan holds like the Rabbanan. Because we'll say, remember again, Reish Lakish is the one who says that what? Reish Lakish is the one who says that when that third set comes in, then what? We disqualify them. Why do we disqualify them? We'll say, why? Because we look at the context, and the context here is that this third set of witnesses is coming on the heels of 2 other sets of witnesses, both who were disqualified for being liars. So therefore, B'pashtos, again, we look at these as liars as well. So Reish Lakish would seem to align himself with the position of Rabbi Yehuda. What does Rabbi Yehuda say? Rabbi Yehuda is one of the Mishnah said is status. On the flip side, no. We look at the third set as a legitimate set. Ultimately, again, would align himself with the Rabbanon. Could both say, don't say that this case of Mazimim, this group of them who are constantly being Mazim, group after group after group, maybe they're legitimate, meaning we have no reason to assume that someone's not legitimate until we're able to actually disqualify them. To which Reish Lakish would say, I hold even according to the Rabbanon. How so? I've come Rabbanon Hasam the Leka de Kamahader. So let's listen to this. Because Reish Lakish will say, I hold like the Rabbanon, because again, in the case of the Mishnah, there's no one actively trying to recruit false witnesses. But yet in this case over here, there is this lady who's clearly actively going to seek out witnesses. Rabbi Yochanan will say, I hold you like Rabbi Yehuda also. I can come Rabbi Yehuda also. We'll say, because again, in the case of the Mishnah, the reason Rabbi Yehuda says the status is because come on, meaning everybody was with C and D on Sunday, right? The guns still, everybody was with them on Sunday. It doesn't make any sense. So because it doesn't make any sense, that's why he says his status. I will say it's quite possible that in this case of the women, the three sets of witnesses that she's bringing have absolutely no relationship to one another. Now it happens that the first two were lying and the third one was not, but because there's no established relationship between the three, we have no problem accepting the testimony of the third group. Good. Says the Mishnah, Ein ha'idim zomin neragim ad sheyigmar hadin. So it's idim zomin are only killed after there is a gemar din. After, again, judgment as what does this mean? That Edim Zolman only received the reciprocal punishment if they were successful in convicting the defendant. Now, not killing, because we'll discuss what happens if they get him killed, but there has to be a conviction. In other words, if they are discovered to be Edim Zolman before the conviction, then there's no hazama, there's no reciprocal punishment. It's only if they're successful in attaining a conviction that we go ahead and we punish them. Look at Rashi, Achik Maradin. So there has to be conviction and then azama. Shariat Tzdukim, because the Tzdukim say that Edim Zomer only become Edim Zomin if they're successful in killing the defendant. Or we'll say when we say killing means what? Killing means killing / actually being punished. Shneimar nefesh tachas nefesh. Amrum chacham v'lo kvar neimar v'asisim lo kasher zamam la'asos la'achim. We'll say we do to the witnesses that which they wanted to do to their brother. The inference from that is that their brother is still alive. Their brother is still alive, which means what? Which means that Lamaisa, the conviction has been achieved, but the sentence has not yet been carried out. Therefore, what does the pasuk say? A life for a life. Because I might have thought that as soon as they give their testimony, to be Edom Zoman, they should be killed. Therefore, again, Talmud Omar, nefesh tachas nefesh, ha'inu neragin at sheyigmar hadin. So we'll say, bottom line, the Mishnah tells me, Edom Zoman only become Edom Zoman, we'll say, in a window. What's the window? They are discovered to be Edom Zoman after the verdict. Down, but what? Before it's been carried out. So after the verdict has been handed down, before it's been carried out. Says the Gemara.
Now, it was carried out, they found out.
We're going to discuss. The Gemara. Tell Rabbi Omer. We'll say. So Rabbi said, so lo hargun heragin, hargu ein heragin. So listen to this. If they achieved, if they were able to get the verdict handed down, but the defendant was not yet executed, it could be killed. Hargu ein heragin. However, again, if they were successful in getting the defendant killed, it wasn't just delivered, but was actually carried out, then what? Then the witnesses are not killed. Amar Aviv. So we'll say, so Rabbi says this to his father, and his father said, my son, could this not be learned out from a Kavachomer? What's the Kavachomer? So the Gemara says, Amar lo, but Rabbi, you taught us not punish based on a Kavachomer. Or so we've seen this concept before. Means you cannot derive it, you cannot arrive at punitive measures or punitive steps through a Kavachomer. Disanyo, Ish asher yikach esachoso basavivo basimo. We'll say if a man will go ahead and have relations with his sister, the daughter of his father, the daughter of his mother. Ainly ela bas aviv shelo basimo, ubasimo shelo bas aviv, basimo ubas aviv minayim. So we'll say the Torah, interestingly enough, phrases the prohibition about a sister by referring to her as the daughter of my father or the daughter of my mother. How do I know that if I have a sister who is both the daughter of my mother, that it's usher as well? Talmud Lomar, Gila. Therefore, we'll say the pasuk says that literally the erva of his sister he has uncovered. So we'll say he used his sister in an unqualified way to teach you that what? Even if she is both the sister from my father and my mother, it's also usher. Achlo Yomar Yeshli Bedin. So remember again, the Gemara says over here, even if the pasuk had not said something, I could have arrived at this conclusion. How about saying through a Kavachomer Im Anash Abbas Aviv Shelo Basimo. So we'll say if I'm punished for a sister who is the daughter of my father but not the daughter of my mother, or the daughter of my mother but not the daughter of my father, bas avivu basimo lakol shekin. We'll say all the more so a sister who is the daughter of my mother and father should be punished for. To which the Gemara says, what do you see from here? But yet we need a pasuk. Halamarta she'ein onshin min adin. So we'll say, what do you see from here? You see from here that we do not punish based on a kal v'chomer. Onesh shamanu asar minai. So we'll say, I understand. And we'll say, remember again, anytime you're handing down a punishment specifically, again, misos, specific death penalties, require two prohibitions. One that's called an ashara, which is the warning, and the other, which is the onesh. So I understand now that I can't learn out a punishment from a kal v'chomer. What about the ashara? What about the lav? So the Gemara says, Talmud Lomar, ervas achoscha bas avicho bas imecha. Therefore, the pasuk says, the erva of my sister, the daughter of my father, the daughter of my mother. Inli elabas aviv shlo basimo. This one tells me the daughter of my father is not the daughter of my mother. Basimo shlo bas aviv, or the daughter of my mother is not the daughter of my father. Bas aviv ubasimo minai. And we'll say, how do I know that it also applies to the daughter who is the daughter of my mother and my father? Talmud Lomar, ervas bas eshes avicha moledes avicha achoscha hi. But even if they had the pasuk not said this, I could have arrived at this from a kal v'chomer. Mine was har abbas imo shelo bas aviv. If the Torah warns me about a sister who is a daughter of my mother, not the daughter of my father, ubas aviv shelo bas imo, or the daughter of my father is not the daughter of my mother, bas aviv bas imo lakosh. In other words, this is simple kal v'chomer. The kal v'chomer is if a half sister is going to be usher, then what? Then what? Of course, a full sister is usher. But what do you see? Halamarta she'in masir min adin. I will say, what do you see from here? You see that ultimately, again, you cannot go ahead and pass judgment based, or I should say, you can't arrive at a punishment based on a kal v'chomer. We'll say we're going to stop over here for today. I'm going to record after the rest of the daf until the Mishnah. I just want to share with you just a short thought on the parsha. So the pasuk says in Parshas Chayei. So Chayei begins in a strange way. Vayu Chayei mea shana esrim shana sheva shanim. So the pasuk it doesn't just say Sarah was 127 years old. Rather, it says that Lamaitzi she was 100 years, 20 years, 7 years. So Rashi HaKadosh, we're familiar with Rashi. Rashi says, discussing that Torah is trying to highlight each of the different stages of life. But then the pasuk ends off by saying Shnei Chayei Sarah. These are the years of Sarah Imenu's life. So Rashi HaKadosh says, what does it mean, Shnei Chayei Sarah? Rashi says, Kulan Shavin L'Tova. That all of Sarah Imenu's years were all good. We're all good. Kulan Shavin L'Tova. In other words, as much as we're breaking down the different segments of her life, old age, youth, childhood, but Shnei Chayei Sarah, they were all good. So the Rebbe Rav Zusha Anipoli asks a very simple question. He said, listen to these. He says, Eichi Tachin Lomar came. How can you say Kulan Shavin L'Tova? V'halo rov shnosea haisa chashuchas banim ushruya b'tzar sovelas rav v'galus shvuya b'ya paro v'avimelech ukiyotzi b'paronos halalu ve'eich kol shnosea Shavin L'Tova. So Rav Zusha says, have you been reading the Chumash? Right? Have you been looking at it? What do you mean? Her life was all good. Kulan Shavin L'Tova. We'll say, Sarah Imenu suffered. Sarah Imenu had incredible difficulties, childlessness, picking up at an advanced age and just resettling, being taken captive twice by two despotic, immoral individuals. And what do you mean, Kulan Shavin L'Tova? That ultimately all of the years of her life were good. So listen to what the Rebbe says so beautifully. He says, what does it mean, Kulan Shavin L'Tova? Shebechosh noseh amra ora b'shove gam zu l'tova. Rashi HaKadosh is not saying that all of Sarah Imenu's life was easy. Rashi HaKadosh is not saying that all of Sarah Imenu's life was wonderful. Kulan Shavin L'Tova means that at every single stage, Sarah Imenu said, L'Tova, that the greatness of this tzaddikus was her ability to see the Yad Hashem, to see the hand of God, to see Hashgacha Pratis, this divine providence, and not only to see that it's from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Also, like we're learning in Gana Emunah. Emunah doesn't just mean to say that it's from God. Emunah, that's the first stage of Emunah. The second stage of Emunah is that I call it Tova. That I have to believe in some way, even the most difficult things in life are for good, even though I can't see it. And I will say, it's not only that I can't see it, sometimes I'm never going to see it. Sometimes I'm never going to be able to chop with my intellect the Tova in this. But there are certain things in life that even if you can't understand it with your intellect, you have to feel it in your neshama. Kulan Shavin L'Tova, says the Rebbe so beautifully. Doesn't mean Sarah Imenu had an easy life, but in every single stage, whatever was happening, she was always able to live life with Gamzu L'Tova. Akol Ra'ah Baruch Hashem, Kishim Shemavarchen ala tova. And every step in life, she always blessed HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the circumstances she had. Umi olam lo yada ramativo, kevan shakol miyado shel Hashem atov. That's kulan shavin latova. The greatness of Sarah Imenu ultimately, again, was every single step Gamzu Latova. And that, see, I've said this before. Sometimes people say Gamzu Latova. And you know how they say Gamzu Latova? How do they say Gamzu Latova? It's like, you know, life is horrible. Everything is terrible, but I want to sound from. Gamzu Latova. God, I hate you. I can't believe you're doing this to me. What's going on? Gamzu Latova. It's like a nice religious response, but I don't feel it in my heart. In my heart, I'm angry. In my heart, I'm upset. In my heart, I can't believe this is happening. And I must say, when difficulties happen, those are legitimate responses. But what Sermon teaches us is I have to work through it. And I have to get myself to the level where kulan shavan latova. It's easy to say gamz latova when life is going your way, but the greatness of Sermon is the ability to say gamz latova even when things are difficult. And then the Rebbe goes on, he says something amazing. He says, we see the same midah by Avram Avinu as well. What's the midah by Avram Avinu? So what does the pasuk say just a few psukim later? V'Hashem beirach es Avraham bakol. Blessed Avram Avinu with everything. So both say, so there's a big machlokes on Mefarshim, what bakol means. Right? We saw him in Sanhedrin, so the Gemara discusses, bakol maybe means he didn't have a daughter, bakol means he did have a daughter. If he did have a daughter, her name was bakol. Rabban says it could be Osher, Nechasim, Mavadim, Banim, all different things. So this is what the Rebbe says. He says, "Bakol, hainu b'mida tova zu shel kol." What's the midah of kol? So the Rebbe says every single morning. What do we say? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol tzarki. Of kol is the ability to say, Ribono shel olam, you've given me everything I need. Maybe not everything I want. Not everything I want. It could be that I want more things, but at the end of the day, you've given me everything. The ability of Hashem Yirachas Avraham Bakol means that ultimately, again, Avraham Avinu was able to focus on what he had. He was able to live his life feeling that I had everything from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but you don't. You don't have everything. And there are many years in life where you didn't have many of the basic things that people want, like children, like a future ability. You know, the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh points out, Avraham Avinu, never lived in a house. You know that? He never lived in a house. He lived in a tent. Because that was the nature of his nomadic experience. That was the nature of his nomadic life. It lacked fundamental stability. Yet Rabbi said, despite all that, Avraham Avinu said every single morning, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol tzarki, v'Hashem yirachas Avraham bakol. The Ribono shel olam ultimately blessed me with everything, which means two things. Number one, I'm able to rejoice in that which I have, instead of hyper-focusing on that which I lack, and the ability ultimately to see that everything that God circumstantially delivers my way is hakol tova as well. Somehow, some way, this is the good of the Ribono shel olam. So we'll say in these few psukim, we see the incredible power of this power couple. That the greatness of Avram and Sarah was manifest in so many different ways. By Sarah, meaning it was hakol shavin latova, shnei chayei Sarah. She was able to say gamzu latova in every single life circumstance. Avraham Avinu lived the life, didn't just say, but lived the life of Hashem Yirachas Avraham bakol she'asa li kol tzarki. And I will say this becomes the model for us, for their children. Sometimes the Ribono shel olam visits difficult circumstances upon us. We all have our challenges. And I will say, just because somebody else has bigger challenges doesn't mean my challenges are not significant. Just because there are children starving in Africa, I understand, but Lamaisa, I still have my problems. And just because someone else has bigger problems doesn't mean that my problems are not significant. And sometimes the problems that we have aren't going away. Sometimes the problems that we have can't always be fixed. Sometimes they can't always be worked through. Sometimes they're here to stay, or if they're not here to stay forever, they're here to stay for a long time. And it's in those moments that we have to draw on the power of Avram and Sarah. We have to draw on the power of our mother and our father to live lives of kulan shavin latova, to be able to work on ourselves, to be able to see some way, somehow, that even in the most challenging of circumstances, there's a chesed abore. There's a love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be able to say every single day, she'asa li kol tzarki. Ribono shel olam, first of all, thank you for what you've given me. I'm not going to focus on what I lack, but more than that, I also realize that the circumstances you have given me are the exact circumstances I need in life to be able to self-actualize. We should be zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to be able to internalize these lessons, and in doing so, halavai, we should be zochem to give the neshamas of our beautiful, magnificent, and holy parents an aliyah. Amen.